Hey, everyone, and welcome to Interesting Facts. Today we will explore fascinating world of history, but not the kind they teach you in textbooks. We're talking about the surprising, the often misunderstood historical myths. Over the next few minutes, we're going to unpack 6 of these myths, exploring their origins, debunking their inaccuracies, and having a little bit of fun along the way. So hit that subscribe button and get ready to have your mind blown. Let's set the record straight. Let's explore some false historical facts. Okay, let's start with a classic, the light bulb. We all know the name Thomas Edison, right? The quintessential American inventor, the embodiment of ingenuity. But did Edison actually invent the light bulb? Well, not quite. Long before Edison, a British chemist named Humphrey Davy had already demonstrated an electric arc lamp, and decades before Edison's invention, 2 British inventors, Henry Woodward and Matthew Evans, filed a patent for an incandescent light bulb remarkably similar to what we use today. So Edison, brilliant as he was entering a field already buzzing with innovation.
My genius wasn't in inventing the light bulb from scratch, but in refining and perfecting it. I experimented with thousands of materials for the filament, the part of the bulb that actually glows, before landing on a carbonized bamboo filament that could burn for hours. I also developed a more efficient vacuum inside the bulb, further extending its lifespan. But perhaps my most significant contribution was creating a complete electrical system to support the light bulb, including generators, sockets, and wiring.
Oh, and remember those British inventors, Woodward and Evans? Well, Edison ended up buying their patent in 1879, so while Edison wasn't the original inventor of the light bulb, he played a crucial role in its development and widespread adoption. From one iconic figure to another, let's talk about Jesus. Specifically his birthday. We all know the date, right? December 25th. Christmas trees, presents, carols, but the truth is Jesus' birth date is a bit of a mystery. The Bible doesn't actually mention the exact date, and there's no historical evidence to pinpoint December 25th as the day. So how did this date become so synonymous with Christmas? Well, we can thank a Roman emperor for that. In the 4th century AD, Emperor Constantine, eager to solidify his power and unify the Roman Empire under Christianity, needed to blend existing pagan traditions with this new religion.
The Romans already had a big celebration in late December, Saturnalia, a week-long festival honoring the god Saturn. So, what better way to ease the transition to Christianity than to align Jesus' birth with this already popular holiday? And voila, December 25th became the official birthday of Jesus.
While we don't know the actual date, most scholars believe Jesus was likely born sometime between 6 BC and 4 BC, based on historical records and astronomical events. Speaking of Christmas, let's talk about the man himself, Santa Claus. The jolly old elf with a twinkle in his eye and a sack full of toys. He's become synonymous with Christmas, and many believe that his image, the red suit, the white beard, the belly like a bowl full of jelly, is a creation of the Coca-Cola company. But hold your reindeer for a second. While Coca-Cola certainly played a role in popularizing the modern image of Santa, they didn't invent him. The roots of Santa Claus can be traced back centuries to a real person. St. Nicholas, a 4th century Greek bishop known for his generosity and kindness, especially towards children. Over time, St. Nicholas's legend spread throughout Europe, evolving and morphing along the way. In the Netherlands, he became known as Sinterklaas, a figure who arrived on horseback and delivered gifts to well-behaved children. When Dutch settlers arrived in New Amsterdam, now New York City, in the 17th century, they brought Sinterklaas with them.
In 1822, I penned the iconic poem A Visit from St. Nicholas. You probably know it as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." My poem gave Santa his sleigh, his reindeer, and his chimney diving skills.
Then came the illustrations of Thomas Nast, a 19th century cartoonist who helped solidify Santa's jolly appearance, complete with a white beard and a round belly. So, while Coca-Cola didn't invent Santa Claus, they certainly helped shape how we see him today.
Okay, let's tackle a big one. The idea that Christopher Columbus discovered America. This myth is so ingrained in our collective consciousness that it's practically woven into the fabric of history textbooks. But it's a myth nonetheless, and a harmful one at that. First and foremost, the Americas were already home to millions of indigenous peoples long before Columbus set sail. To say that he discovered these lands completely disregards the rich cultures, civilizations, and histories that already existed.
But even if we set aside the problematic nature of the word discovered, Columbus wasn't even the first European to reach the Americas. Viking explorers, led by Leif Erikson, had established a settlement in present-day Newfoundland, Canada, around 500 years before Columbus's voyage. There's also evidence suggesting that Irish monks, Basque whalers, and even Polynesian seafarers may have reached the Americas before Columbus. So, why is Columbus credited with this discovery?
Well, Columbus's voyages had something that previous expeditions lacked: the backing of a powerful European empire. Spain, eager to find a new trade route to the East Indies, funded Columbus's expedition, hoping he would find a faster way to reach the spice markets of Asia. Ironically, Columbus never actually reached his intended destination. He landed in the Caribbean, mistaking the islands for the East Indies, and even upon his death, he believed he had reached Asia.
Despite his geographical confusion, Columbus's voyages marked the beginning of European colonization of the Americas, a period of conquest, disease, and cultural upheaval that had devastating consequences for indigenous populations.
From explorers to geniuses, let's talk about Albert Einstein, the man whose name is practically synonymous with intelligence. But did you know that there's a persistent myth that Einstein struggled in school, particularly in math? This story gets passed around so often that it's practically become a source of comfort for anyone who's ever struggled with a math problem. Hey, we tell ourselves, if Einstein could flunk math and still become a genius, maybe there's hope for me yet.
But here's the thing, the story isn't true. Einstein was actually a brilliant student, excelling in math and physics from a young age. He taught himself algebra and Euclidean geometry in a single summer and even mastered calculus before he was 15. So where did this myth of the failing genius come from?
Well, it seems to stem from a misunderstanding about Einstein's early education. He did struggle in some subjects, particularly those that he found boring or restrictive, like languages and rote memorization. He also clashed with some of his teachers, who didn't appreciate his inquisitive nature and independent thinking. In fact, there's a story that Einstein was once given a reference letter by a teacher that described him as having no future as a scientist. Talk about a miscalculation.
The truth is that Einstein's mind wasn't wired for traditional education. He thrived on challenging assumptions, questioning everything, and exploring the mysteries of the universe. Let's journey back in time to ancient Egypt, a land of pharaohs, pyramids, and, yes, more historical myths. One of the most pervasive myths about ancient Egypt is that the pyramids, those colossal monuments to the pharaohs, were built by slaves. This image, often depicted in movies and popular culture, is a powerful one. Thousands of enslaved people toiling under the scorching desert sun, dragging massive stones across the sand to erect these architectural marvels. It's a dramatic story, but it's not entirely accurate. While it's true that slavery existed in ancient Egypt, the pyramids were not built by slaves. Instead, they were constructed by skilled laborers, farmers, craftsmen, and artisans who were paid for their work. These workers were organized into guilds with specialized skills passed down through generations. They took pride in their craftsmanship, seeing the construction of the pyramids as a sacred duty and an honor to the pharaoh. Evidence suggests that these workers were well fed, receiving rations of bread, beer, and even meat. Archaeologists have uncovered workers' villages near the pyramids, complete with bakeries, breweries, and even medical facilities. These findings paint a picture of a large-scale, organized workforce that was treated with a certain level of respect, not a mass of mistreated slaves. So, there you have it, 6 historical myths debunked. It's amazing how these stories, despite their inaccuracies, have managed to weave their way into our collective understanding of the past. But as we've seen, history is rarely black and white. It's full of complexities, nuances, and often surprising truths that challenge our assumptions. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating historical insights. See you next time.